Hey folks, just Alicia checking in. Today is 12 days post-transfer and I have an update for you folks. So a few things I just want to mention, like how my 2-week wait has been kind of like medications have been modified. There's been sort of some unexpected issues that have come up. So I just wanted to talk about those with you folks as well. And also give you the results. We went in for blood work for our HCG beta testing on day 10. So I can give you the results of that as well. So firstly, I realized in my last video, I did forget to mention, so leading up to transfer day, that was on day 42 of our cycle. Leading up to that, I had mentioned to two nurses that I was having like pretty bad pain when it came to the medication I was taking vaginally. And they just kind of said, oh, estrase causes, or sorry, endometrium, the progesterone suppositories, they said that that's normal for it to cause cramping and pain and bloating, which, I just accepted, although in the back of my head, in hindsight, it did seem really odd to me because we have done a fresh transfer previously and I was on the same medication and I didn't have any of that. So I don't know, I just pushed it out of my mind. And up to transfer day, I mentioned again the pain. It was to the extent that it was limiting my ability to like move around the house and get things done. So I mentioned it to the doctor. Now here's the other thing. On transfer day, my doctor, I'm sure had some sort of family emergency because it's not like him at all, but he was not able to come in to work that day. So I had a different doctor actually perform my transfer. So I asked this doctor if at the very least there was any possibility that I could, because I was taking the progesterone suppositories and I was also taking my estrogen tablets twice a day vaginally. So I asked if at the very least I could take my estrogen orally to help me relieve some pain, and the doctor was easy breezy with that. He said, yes, that's actually its intended method of use. So we made that change on transfer day. And then after transfer day, the cramping and bloated feeling, that was a little bit intensified, but to be expected with the transfer. And when we got to 3 days post-transfer, that pain had just continued to increase and increase. I was not able to lay on my back at any point because it just felt like so much, it just felt just so much pressure causing a lot of pain. And on day 3, so it wasn't even quite day 3 because in the middle of the night, I just had not been sleeping because the pain was bothering me so much. I got up, I don't even know, like maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock. Like I literally had finally fallen asleep for a few moments and then just woke up to this sharp pain. Yeah, and it got quite bad and I had been told, oh, this is normal. But it just felt like just an immense amount of pressure, and I would honestly describe it. I've mentioned in other videos that like we've had a miscarriage previously, and I was given for that miscarriage medication to induce, my body getting rid of everything because of the hormones I was on. And it's painful. And it felt exactly like that. So I actually was making enough kind of volume trying to deal with the pain I was in the middle of the night that I woke my husband, even though I wasn't in the same room, and He was trying to ask me questions like, what's happening? What's going on? What are you feeling? And the pain was so intense. Like there were points that I just kind of had to breathe through it, and I couldn't, I couldn't speak. I had to wait for like the cramping to pass. So he decided that, we should go into a hospital, which we did. And unfortunately, so we went to the hospital, and I find that, so we live in a small community, and the medical doctor that we saw was like, he just honestly said, like, all I'm going to be able to offer you, and we went into the hospital because my clinic wasn't open to discuss this with. He said, all I can really offer you is like a Band-Aid for now until your clinic opens, because this is like fertility stuff. It's highly specialized, and, we don't really want to mess with that. So he sent me home with Tylenol 3s. I don't really know whether or not, I don't know. Mother Risk says that it's fine to take that, because after embryo transfer, you have to assume you're pregnant and treat your body as such. So Mother Risk says that, occasional use is fine. But yes, so we finally got a hold of my clinic in Toronto when they opened, and they did not agree and didn't want me taking the Tylenol 3s. So again, in hindsight, this would be the 4th time I've mentioned pain. And when I call my clinic, I speak to a nurse. I don't necessarily speak to my doctor directly. So this time that I called, I said, I've been to the hospital. Like at certain points, the pain was a straight 10 out of 10. It's not at the moment, but it was. Like, please, we need to do something. I can't operate this way. So finally, the nurse called my doctor, who immediately said, like, that is not normal to have 10 out of 10 pain, and we need to make a change. So that day, which was the 3rd day post-transfer, we drove to our satellite clinic to pick up different medication, and we switched from the progesterone suppositories to the progesterone and oil injections. So we did do a switch, and I specifically asked for instructions on how to do that switch and keep my progesterone levels where they need to be. And we followed those to a T. And I woke up the next morning, 4 days post-transfer, and I was bleeding. I didn't know how significant it would be. I didn't know if it was due to the switch of progesterone. But it turned out to be a pretty heavy period type bleed. And I contacted my clinic, again, speaking to the nurse, and she said, I just want more information from you around what the bleeding is like sort of describing it. And I offered that, and she never called my doctor. She just kind of said, okay, and wrote it down. And I specifically asked if this was in any situation normal, or if there was any possibility that this might still work. And she just kind of tiptoed around giving me any kind of answer. So I didn't feel very supported around that. And yeah, so I bled pretty heavily for 2 days. 6 days post-transfer, the bleeding turned to spotting and continued up until 10 days post-transfer. And I will say, so 9 days post-transfer, I just knew, this didn't work, and my body had been just, even though we had switched to the progesterone and oil, I wasn't in as much pain, but I could feel my body was just trying so hard to fight the medication and just get rid of, what we've been working on, kind of building up and everything. So I just knew we were going to get a negative on the 9th. I could just feel it. And lo and behold, we went in for blood work on 10 days post-transfer and had received a confirmed negative. So, you know, we knew that that was an option. This isn't a guaranteed process by any means, but yeah, I just think that phone call happened 2 days ago. Today we're 12 days post transfer. I was instructed to just completely stop all of my medications. So I've done that, and I guess now we're just sort of regrouping. Because yeah, we've never done a frozen embryo transfer before. We've only just done our stims and then a fresh transfer. So I've learned now, like, this process is very different. The medications are very different and their intentions are different. And my body really didn't like some of those medications. And I know that there are other options. We do still have 2 more frozen embryos. And at the moment, my doctor's office is closed for the Christmas holidays, but they will be opening up again on January 7th. And I think it's just really important. My doctor is so kind. Like, if I go in and chat with him about concerns that I experienced during my cycle, he may have a good explanation for me, or he may modify things, because we're 2 days after the negative, and I've just kind of been reflecting a little bit. And what I didn't expect was, like, to my understanding, if I had the correct amount of progesterone, or a sufficient amount of progesterone in my body, even if our transfer had failed, no bleeding should have occurred. That's my understanding. I'll follow up with my doctor on that. But with that being my understanding, when I went in for my HCG beta test, I had to ask them to also run my progesterone levels, just for, you know, future reference for my doctor. And they said, well, we don't normally do that, but since we're running it, we'll run that for you as well. And, you know, so looking back, when we switched to progesterone and oil, it had been, like, clearly stated to me that, you know, this is actually like a better switch at the end of the day, because what we inject is what my body receives. With suppositories, they're inserted, they melt, they come out. There's a little bit of uncertainty for how much is absorbed into the body. So with that said, I just feel like when I went in for my ultrasound, to check my lining to see if I was good to go for my matrix test, and we didn't do any blood work. And when I did my matrix test, we didn't do any blood work. And I'm a little surprised that at no point did my progesterone levels ever get checked. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we ended up with a negative, but we've learned a lot. I didn't know what this process would look like. I had some good questions for my doctor for sure. And I think for now, it's just time for my husband and I to just get back to normal, being ourselves and enjoying each other's company, and deciding, we definitely know that we want to try again. But as I said, you know, it's going to be a conversation with my doctor, because in hindsight, I'm not super happy with the way that the process went. So I guess that will be my next video, folks. I intend to chat with my doctor, like try and book an appointment as soon as his office opens, so that at the very least, when we are ready to move forward again, I know what that plan is and what it's going to look like. So that will be the next point of check-in. Wish I was uploading a video with some really great news, but you know what? This is the reality of the process when it comes to IVF, IUI, FET, any assisted reproduction. We put our all into it, and it's not guaranteed. So yeah, we're sad, but we're going to take some time and just be with family and focus on us again in terms of our relationship, and just enjoy what we have and sort of heal. So Unfiltered, folks. Yeah. I'm sad, but we're just going to re-up and go at this again. So when that is done, I'll definitely be in touch, folks. And to all of you out there who are going through this, who are struggling with emotions and hormones and, you know, high stakes, you know, you're not alone. So please feel free to comment. And let's just be a community and support each other. So to all of you out there trying, it's not easy. And I know where you're at. No, you're not alone. You are so far from alone. And I'm just going to throw it out there one more time that the most amazing Facebook group, if you're going through assisted reproduction, IVF Support Canada, I highly suggest you join. They've just been a great means of support for us when my doctor's not available. Not a replacement for medical advice, but at the very least I can ask questions in terms of what other women have experienced. So, you know, when I was nervous about my bleeding, I posted about that, and you know, there were just women supporting me, sharing their stories, and it helped. So just throwing that out there too. Anyhow, we'll definitely be posting another video once I've contacted my doctor's office and we figure out what our plan is going to be and next steps are moving forward. Thanks for watching, folks, and good luck to all of you out there.